Hello, hello. If you are interested in learning how to simplify your life, your business, and your life, you are in the right place. I am so excited to introduce you to my guest today. If you are new to my channel, I am Kate Volman. Welcome. I share lots of journaling prompts and book recommendations and just ideas to help you live a more creative and fulfilling life. And I started live streaming my podcast over here, which is what I'm doing right now. So if you're interested in some of these conversations to just live a more creative life and you listen to podcasts, I encourage you to check out the podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. It's called Create for No Reason. Today, I'm so excited to introduce you to my friend, Justin. Justin Konikow is a real estate, media, and marketing expert serving more than just the real estate industry. Justin is a very creative individual and has a strong success in scaling businesses. Through how-to videos, spending time with industry experts, and a strong sphere of connections, Justin creates daily content. So much content. It's so great. Teaching people productivity hacks and accountability, which helped him scale his business and his journey as an entrepreneur. Justin founded the companies with his wife, Shannon, with the intent of turning the industry upside down, which is so cool. We're going to talk about that. You have to use creativity if you want to change your industry, which is what he's done, because they have quickly become one of the biggest and most influential household names in real estate. They also have a media company creating videos, podcasts, visuals, and articles. So I am very excited to introduce you to my friend, Justin Konikow. Justin, what's up?
Hey, Kate, how are you doing? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for doing this with me. I'm so excited to chat with you because you are someone who I find you're so strategic in your business and your life. And we talk a lot about creativity on this show. So I first want to hear from you because I know I always tell you how strategic you are. And sometimes you're like, yeah, I am. But sometimes you're like, but not as much as maybe you think. So to your, when I think about you, what is your living a creative and fulfilling life? What does that mean to you?
I think it's integrating your purpose and your work together in an authentic way where you're not trying to be somebody that you aren't at your core, right? And like a lot of entrepreneurs, it took me a really long time to figure that out. So my channel exists and my content exists to help people kind of jump through the 5 or 10 years of pain that I went through to kind of understand that I'm not living for the world, I'm living for my purpose, right? And I think you try to do a lot of the same things through your content. And that's what a fulfilling life is to me, is genuinely just giving away things that will inherently bring out the best in other people.
That's awesome. And you have multiple businesses. You create a ton of content. And you and we've talked a lot about just content creation and how so many people get stuck when it comes to content creation. And a lot of people that listen to the show, they want to have a podcast, they want to have a YouTube channel, they want to create videos or put some message out into the world, but they stop themselves. So how do you consistently create so much content?
So, I mean, I'll explain the companies that I create the content for so people can have an idea, and then I'll give you the exact roadmap that I use to create that content. So essentially there's Prime Real Estate, which is in my goal, this hat that I'm wearing, Prime Real Estate Brokerage is my core business, right? It is probably the largest and has the largest reach and the biggest team. And that company is based around being the most trusted name in real estate. And we're also one of the only real estate companies on the planet that does all asset classes. So whether you're doing residential, commercial, investment, agricultural, recreational properties, new development, or investments, I have a division for each of those. And I have like Navy SEAL team leaders in each of those divisions. So you have to think about, well, if I'm creating content for Prime, I'm creating company for the real estate brand from a global perspective, but then I need to niche down to each one of those pillars, all of the people that are in those pillars, and then the individual properties and clients that I'm representing. I need to create content for each of those properties. The way that I structured that in the beginning was I was all of those things. I wasn't nearly as big as I was now, but I was the admin, I was the photographer, I was the agent, I was the back office. My wife and I started just trying to become well-known in our little neighborhood, and then city, and then territory, and then building a team under us. So to give your people the roadmap of how to do that, it started with Instagram. I just picked one platform that nobody was using at the time, and I committed to creating a video daily. I had inspiration. I had Gary Vee, who was doing Daily V at the time. And I was like, okay, I'll just do that for real estate. I'll take one piece of content. I'll explain something in the contract that the consumers don't understand. I'll explain what I'm doing if I'm at a home inspection or at an appraisal or at a closing. And I'll just educate the consumers, a daily video around real estate. And it's very interesting because I would actually credit that to being the biggest factor in how we grew so quickly and the foundation of what we have now. At the time, nobody was liking, nobody was commenting. And even for like the first 7 years, I would say I was getting like 30 to 100 views per video, maybe 4 to 10 likes. It really, my following was maybe up to 1,000 or 2,000 up until probably 2021. And it's after I did it for so long that I earned the trust of the audience that they're like, hey, this guy's not just doing it to sell me something. He actually is who he says he is, that it all changed. How I actually shot the content was I picked up my phone and I went in my garage, and the videos were blurry. My audio was terrible and I didn't have a script and I didn't really know what I was doing. But after doing the first 100 videos, I was able to figure it out and be like, I don't really like how I framed it that way. I had really all kinds of stuff behind me I shouldn't have behind me. My topics were all over the place. And I started refining the process a little bit more, right? So using that roadmap of picking one platform, understanding what I did at the time and what I aspired to do, I started framing all of my content around real estate and started being thoughtful about everything I told you. Like I did residential commercial investment. I also did it in London, St. Thomas, Grand Bend. So as I was producing content, I started being more thoughtful as I'd be in listing appointments and people saying like, well, you only sell in London, or you only sell in Grand Bend, or you only sell houses. I was like, oh man, my messaging matters. So I actually took a spreadsheet and I took all of those categories and all of those territories, and I started really making sure that as I was putting out content, it was balanced. So you knew I did residential in London, that I could do commercial in Grand Bend, that I could do investment properties in St. Thomas. And slowly but surely, just by plodding forward and making a ton of mistakes, I was able to really systemize it now where the machine is kind of rolling on its own. I can do this and content still being put out without me actually having to lift a finger.
Oh my gosh. Okay, you said so many things. There were so many things in there that I feel like we could dive into. The first of which you said that you were creating content for like 7 years that people weren't really watching. And I think that in today's world where we just live in this, I want it now. I want all the likes now. I mean, how did you push forward when people weren't responding?
I never cared about the vanity metrics because I also knew very early on that a lot of people were purchasing followers for the vanity metrics. And I saw it happening, but the difference is I was getting business and they weren't. So those same people that were buying 30, 40,000 followers, maybe they tricked a few average consumers, but as I was walking the streets, I would have people stop me and say, hey, I saw this video. I had a builder ask me for coffee one day. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get this guy's listings. And I didn't. He actually just wanted to give me a $2,500 check for a Habitat for Humanity drive we were doing. He's like, your video saved me 10 grand on a deal I was doing in Windsor. Just want to thank you. That led to a longer term relationship. We ended up doing some business together, but I saw the active indicators that it was working, even though I didn't see the vanity metrics. And that's what I really want to encourage people about is even on YouTube, even if I have 5 people on my live streams, I'm hype because I also know people with hundreds of thousands of followers maybe only have 400, right? So it's just perspective, I think.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. That's so true. So how can someone, if you're, because one challenge that I hear from a lot of people is just there's so many different platforms and there's so many different types of content that they create. So how can someone kind of, you said spreadsheets, so I'm like, obviously you're very organized. So how can someone decide, okay, what would be my first 10 videos?
So not as organized as it looks. I need the tools in place because I'm very bright, shiny object. Could be doing a million things at once. So I use technology to help me organize things a little bit. But to speak to that one person that doesn't even know where to start, I think you need to ask yourself a simple question. How do you enjoy communicating? Maybe it's written word, maybe it's video, maybe it's photos, right? And I think if you establish which one of those 3 you enjoy, there's a platform for each of those. So let's go completely left field. Let's say written word blogs are your thing. I would say arguably LinkedIn is one of the best opportunities on the planet right now for you to do longer form newsletters or white papers on LinkedIn and then link back or embed other content that you have. So let's just say not even embedding content. You're going to write one thoughtful article on LinkedIn a week. Then you just commit to that. I would say don't commit to something that you can't do. Don't commit to writing a white paper every single day at 7 a.m. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to write for an hour. Think about creating one piece of very valuable content a week on a platform that you enjoy in a way that you enjoy it. And once you've made that commitment, pick another day of the week that you tend to be in a happy place. Let's say it's Saturday morning, you're grabbing a tea and you're going for a walk in nature. That day is going to be your idea creation day. You're going to put 30 minutes in your calendar. You're going to bring a notepad with you, your tea. You're going to go out in nature, get inspired, but you are going to think about ideas. What could I talk about? The way to come up with the ideas isn't to think about what you could talk about, but what the person you're trying to talk to is concerned about. So let's pretend you're buying a lakefront property in Grand Bend. You're concerned about overpaying. You're concerned about water levels. You're concerned about beach and deed access. You're concerned about things in the neighborhood, about the subdivision that maybe you don't understand because there's a community pool that everybody shares and there's certain restrictions in place. So if I'm talking to that person and I'm trying to create content for them, I now have 5 problems they're trying to solve that I could probably do 20 pieces of content for each. So all you do is you write down your ideas on Saturday, and then you pick another day of the week where you're actually going to write out the content or shoot the content. So I'll move from, let's say, Saturday to Tuesday from 1 to 2 p.m. All you're going to do is produce the content. So now you've separated your ideas from your production day. Once the content's produced on Tuesday, your distribution day can be on Thursday, right? So now you've separated your ideas, your shooting, and your distribution into manageable time chunks that it doesn't consume your life. And then as you do this more consistently, you'll notice it becomes effortless. Because as I can tell you, here are my categories, here's what I'm posting, I can tell you it takes less mental energy for me to know that Thursday is my media day. And this is when I do my podcast. This is when I do my shooting. I'm kind of in this mode. I don't have to think about it for another week. All my content's done. It happens on Thursday. So now I get a couple more days to think about content and plan and get re-inspired. By the time Thursday comes around next week, I'm fresh and I'm ready to pump out the content, right?
So what's your happy place to get you in?
Yeah, sorry. Usually fishing. I know that answer super well. Or paddleboarding. Somewhere where I usually can't have a phone next to me. That's my happy place.
Oh my gosh, yes. Being out in nature. What part of the creative process or the content creation process do you like doing the most?
This. I like, it's interesting you asked me that question because I know how to edit. I've used Premiere Pro. I figure stuff out. I'm not patient, right? So like I'll leave 15 videos a quarter edited and I know paying somebody's actually going to save me time and money. So I love creating it and shooting it and getting all the beautiful images to end up with the story. But I think the actual creation of the story, that's somebody else's power position. So formulating, storyboarding, capturing the images, and then getting the final video is kind of what excites me the most.
What do you have like a dream? Like what is your dream for like the best piece of content? Like do you have something that you're like aspiring to be when it comes to the types of content that you're creating?
I think it's exactly what I said in the beginning. It's you watch a piece of my content and you're just like, I'm fired up, and you go and do something yourself, right? I think those are the pieces of content that I want to really encourage people about. I understand my current audience is heavily focused around the real estate industry because I happen to be known well in that industry. It's trickling into entrepreneurship, but pieces of content that are showing people that the world's not going to define who they are. So we have a vlog coming out next month, and it's on my channel. Yeah, my channel, not the Prime channel. And it's geared around the top 5 mistakes agents make that will paralyze them and make them leave the business. And I don't think everybody needs to be a real estate agent, but I want to help 3 or 4 people that maybe don't work for me that could be amazing at that job and it could change their life, understand where the pain points might be that they don't even understand, right? And just give them that aha moment. So any piece of content that inspires somebody to be the best version of themselves is what excites me.
And I love that you have 2 different channels. I think that's really cool that you are able to kind of move from just the business side of what you're doing to your personal brand. And how does that How do you kind of make that distinction of building the business channel versus your channel, where you're still kind of figuring out what all of those pieces are and what you're talking about on that channel?
Well, it's the path I walked you through, right? So as I grew Prime, the company, I started bringing other people into it, and our founding principle is do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, rather than humility, value others above yourself. The company was named after ourselves, which got to a certain point where agents would go into meetings and it's like, well, where's Grogan? Where's Konikow? Like, who are you guys, right? So I realized that Prime became bigger than just Justin, and Justin and Prime were intertwined. So it was becoming inherently more difficult for me to send people understanding that they're hiring a company that does real estate, not just Justin. So I had to thoughtfully separate the two companies and the two channels. Also, Prime, the channel, had a lot of content that was geared towards, say, real estate agents when that wasn't my target audience. The Prime channel is for people looking to relocate to Southwestern Ontario or find referral agents across the globe. That's what Prime is for. Right. So I had to thoughtfully think, who's the audience and what questions do they have? They could care less about what it takes to be a successful real estate agent. At the same time, the 1,000 video plus that I created on my Instagram drew in a lot of real estate professionals that maybe weren't getting the mentorship at their brokerage that they wanted. So they were getting it through my content. So I wanted to point them to a place of like, okay, we can be very focused on that here. And then through collaborations with groups like Breakfast with Champions, where we met, and other places, I started being able to interview incredible people from different industries that could still speak to real estate agents, and then merge the two. So I realized my Prime channel audience was people looking to do business in real estate. My Justin Konikow audience were people looking to grow businesses. Happens to be a penchant for real estate and kind of niched out there. But I'm noticing in the analytics more and more people coming from other industries, because the methodologies that we teach, productivity, marketing, sales, content creation, could work whether you do custom sneakers, you have a coffee shop, or you sell real estate. So I think it was the natural selection of the audiences that made me think, okay, I need to separate them, because here's the real magic. If I didn't, it would grow way slower, because YouTube wouldn't know who to serve it to. Do I send this to agents or buyers? Now YouTube knows exactly who to send the Prime people to, and it also knows who to send my audience to, which I've seen 90% growth almost month on month since I started getting clarity around those two things.
What do you feel like right now is your biggest challenge? Like, what are you thinking about a lot these days?
Right now, we're actually going back to basics. So organizational structure, standard operating procedures, making sure we have the right people in the right seats. Our organization is growing, and some people are evolving into more independent roles, and we're almost building a company for the future. So my wife and I are heavily looking at the transaction coordination at Prime, making sure it's best in class, and the marketing communications seats, and then the flow chart in between. And I think under that, it's checklists for everybody that's working within the organization, so they're delivering, so I can let the reins go and focus on the big ideas, because my real clients, the ones that really understand what we're doing, understand that the leverage of our platform and my expertise is why they're hiring us, not because they need Justin to show up to every single inspection and appraisal. Like, just like if you hired somebody to landscape your backyard and you're hiring the best creative person on the planet, they're not going to be picking up the shovel and moving the dirt, right? They're going to be making sure you get the best end result, which is that transition that I'm kind of going through right now.
What? So you have a business with your wife. I always am so curious about the behind the scenes when husband and wives work together. How is that dynamic?
I mean, I could pretend it's perfect, but I, like everything else, like my planning and my organization, it's got these speed bumps, because you have two personalities that are very strong-willed, that think very differently. But I do find the way that it flows the best is when we communicate. So we try to do 15 minutes every single morning before our days get started, just check in, what rocks are we moving, where are we at, 1 hour every single week to just go through any major problems. Sometimes those conversations get super fiery, and we realize that, like, we're talking business. We can't let emotions kind of transfer into this, but we want to be respectful to each other. And also, we recently heard this, I think this was from Alex Hermosi. And they said, if you're having a discussion with somebody, you need to be able to reiterate their argument back to them. And they have to agree that that's actually their argument before you're allowed to discuss your point. Because a lot of times we reframe what somebody's saying to us and make them look like the bad guy, when in reality, that's not what they're saying, right? So I think, to answer your question, The better the communication is, the better our synergy is. The worse our communication is, the worse our synergy is.
Oh my gosh, that is just life advice. That is just life
Yeah,
advice.
for sure. Honestly, like, I think if you have a disagreement with somebody, I'm a Christian. I can sit down and talk to atheists if they're being respectful. And some of my best friends don't believe in God, and that's okay. But it's the way that we interact as human beings that I think sets the tone for our relationships.
One of the things that I really appreciate about you, Justin, is I feel like you are truly always trying to get better. Like you take things that people say and you apply it. And you're also a huge learner and reader. I know you read a lot of great books. And I'm so curious, what is on your list of like, I think these are my top 3 books that people need to read?
Well, I keep them right next to my little soundboard next to me. So here's some I'm reading right now. This is a phenomenal book called Traction. You can see it. It's the entrepreneurial operating system. It goes hand in hand with rocket fuel, and it's about understanding the seat and the position that you're in, having effective meetings as an organization. This is a faith-based book I'm reading right now. It's called Until Unity by Francis Chan, and it talks a lot about the what's the word I'm looking for? Almost the pageantry of what the faith can be sometimes, right? The lights, the music, the culture of Christianity has gotten far from the actual source of it, right? So it talks about the unity of faith and what it actually means. This is the art of the CMA. So this is from our real estate agent peeps out there. Market shifting. We're in a very different market than we were in 3 months ago. So I'm studying to be the best expert to advise my clients by reading books that effectively tell you how to adapt to a shifting market. Also, another massive real estate agent book sold, the basics. And then here I'll throw one down actually that I did an interview. I don't know if you were there that day. This just came in the mail. I'm going to frame this and I'm going to hang it up in my office. And this is be careful with it, a pocket full of dough. So it's a signed copy by Chris Do, the future. I don't know if you know who that is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I did a Clubhouse interview with Chris Do about a month ago. It was a Breakfast with Champions pop-up room and completely shifted where we're going with the media company that we own. And I'm pretty excited about it. So yeah, Chris Doe's, if you haven't seen his stuff, absolute beast. Ran a agency, did work with Xbox, some of the biggest companies on the planet. Now runs an education technology YouTube channel that you and I aspire to run one similar to his. So
yeah, he's really incredible. Of the interview that you did with him, I'll have to go back and listen to it.
yeah,
I didn't even know you did that interview. But what were one or two of the things that really stood out for you that you remember?
it was thinking bigger, right? I think I realized I don't want more clients. To be honest with you, I don't need more clients. The real estate company does incredibly well. That's my skill set. I think it's easy for people that are, say, my competitors to say, oh, look at Justin. He's doing podcasts. He's doing this, is that. And he doesn't even sell houses. Meanwhile, I'm in the office earlier, work later than most of them, sell more houses than most of them. I'm actually in production. I'm like, okay, that's fine. But I did realize on the production side, we were getting called for a lot of production work. And that's not what I really want that company to be, right? We partner with people that are in similar SKUs as us, and we do help other companies do content creation and so on and so forth. But I don't want to just create another client services company. I'd rather create an education technologies company that shows that company how to do the content themselves internally versus us doing it for them. So that may mean that we work with them in the beginning to go in and shoot the content and everything else too. And maybe we can help their internal team set up their own stuff, or partner them with other like-minded people. So the prime media part of the company also gives access to other referral partners that we'd have that they never have access to if they didn't know who we are. Case in point, we have an incredible branding expert that works with some top celebrities. And there's a builder that has 2 TV shows coming out, and he's going to get access to that person because of our relationship. So more referral education based than client services. And that's directly thanks to Chris Do.
That's cool. How do you read? Like again, going back to, I think it's really, people can read passively or actively. And you seem like someone who's very active in your listening and your learning, which I think we're never really taught to read a book, like read in the sense of like taking the information and actually doing something with it, especially because there's so many personal development books out there, right? Like we can learn so much about just how to be more productive, how to have a better life. But actually putting those things in place, like taking what you've learned and applying them, I see it in a lot of our clients. I'm like, they could read book after book after book. I'm like,
And they just
how
don't
many
do it.
books do you need to read to finally do the thing you know you need to do? So how do you read differently that really pushes you to actually apply some of the things that you're learning?
I listen to most audiobooks. I like paperback. I like surrounding myself with books as well. You can't see I have a wall in the back that's just books that I've read that really make me think about that next level, right? So surrounding myself with imagery that inspires me. I have a wall of like tons of people I respect. That's important to me because it's just, I think what you surround yourself with gets embedded in your subconscious, right? When it comes to reading, if I'm listening to an audiobook, I do this all the time. So I'll be driving, listening to an audiobook. I'll hear something and be like, great idea. I'll hit the Siri button on my steering wheel and I'll say, add reminder, thank Chris Doe in 1 hour or whatever that thing is. Or, add reminder, Prime Media Agency, referral business, education technologies. I'll literally say that out loud to Siri. And then at the end of the day, all of my reminders that were time stamped but not clicked off, I'll look at them and then I'll compartmentalize them and put them somewhere. So I use Siri as like a personal assistant, like note taker. And then when I do my mind sweeping practice at night, I'll look at my reminders list. A lot of times I swipe stuff away. I'm like, I don't actually want to do that. But then I'll take 2 or 3 nuggets out of it and put it somewhere on like a Trello planning board. So when I sit down monthly and say, like, what rocks do I want to move? That one on the media side is like front and center right now. And I look at it every day. I'm like, what do I need to do today to move that rock to where it needs to be? Right. So I think it's having a system or something in place to help me capture the ideas and then reviewing them and then implementing them.
Yeah, I like that. I have a similar process. Like I have so many, I love to highlight. I love to use different highlight colors every time I read it differently. Although I'm not good at that anymore because now there's just like
Yeah.
highlighters all over the place.
I wish I had more time to read paperbacks, which I'm trying to get to that place. Going back to what you asked me about what I'm trying to do, I'm finding more time in my calendar, like shockingly. Like I'm not busy every second of the day. And it's weird because like finding time to think, I can actually work on bigger ideas. So yeah.
Yeah, we need to do it. We need actual like think time
Yeah.
in our lives. But but I do a lot of audiobooks too, but what happens is I'll listen to an audiobook and what do I think? Oh my gosh, I wish I had the book that I could highlight. So I end up having
I
all
get
their
both.
audiobooks and I get
Yeah.
both. I have so many boths.
It's all good. I think if you get honestly, I remember when I was a kid and my dad told me this. He's like, if there's ever a book you want, I'll buy it for you. It's like the one thing he said is, the education piece, endless. I'll do whatever. Even if we didn't have a lot of money growing up, I'll buy you whatever book you want. And that stuck with me, right? Because we work out all the time. Health and fitness is super important, but how much are we working out our brain? And I think if
Yeah.
you can be the most talented athlete on the planet, or you could fill your brain with the most information, I think unequivocally the information is going to weaponize you more than any of the biggest weights that you can move on the planet.
Yeah. What does creativity mean to you, Justin?
I think creativity and authenticity are two in the same in my world. I think creativity for the purpose of trying to be somebody or not is what we've gone through the last 5 to 10 years with Instagram and the age of the influencer. I think the influencer is dying. I think the age of the inauthentic filtered videos and photos, it's going away, right? That perfectly curated feed is now taking place with people with crazy hair shooting reels and TikToks and being authentically themselves, whatever version that means, right? So I think creativity is not being afraid to show who you are and show the world what and where you're inspired.
When what do you do, Justin, that's just like super fun, super creative, like you're not working, you're not creating content, just like you just enjoy doing it for the fun of it?
That's a tough question. I do think currently, like I try to, I'm crazy when it comes to this stuff, but I try and compartmentalize faith, fitness, family, fun, finances. Like those are my 5 main pillars. Faith, I look at like, what are the things that I'm doing, where I do get inspired. I find that when I do spend time in focused prayer, I do feel more at center than I ever have. When I turn off all the devices, all the phones, all the podcasts, all the TVs, if you can be comfortable by yourself in silence, that's incredibly powerful. The second piece, I've really found seeing God in my daughter and spending focused time with her and my wife. That's really something where I feel more fulfilled than anything. Like being present with them, playing Uno, doing whatever. Really, there's as much beauty in that as closing a 40 or $50 million deal, more so actually, where I would trade that over the ladder any day of the week. And then when it comes to the fun aspect of things, it's what I said to you. I think like going out in nature and stacking physical activities with helping my fitness, whether it be riding a bike or paddle boarding or hiking and fishing, I've really found more joy in that than I have probably ever before in just chasing kind of general fitness.
Oh, I love. Isn't it funny how it's like a flow? It's like such life is such this like flow of certain things that really mean something to you at one point, and then they kind of like switch as you get older and really discover what it is that you enjoy doing, which is cool because it's almost just like you get to be creative in different areas of your life at different times of your life.
Yeah, I think people chase things a lot looking for approval from other people, right? I think we all went
Mm.
to school as kids and we wanted to be seen and we wanted to be liked and heard. And we did the things that we thought we had to do to be liked and seen and heard and being with the cool kids. And I found for years and years and years, I chased work and money and access and power and all these different things. And there was always like, you're chasing the next thing and the next thing. And then what I learned over the years was you're going to be chasing that thing forever because it doesn't matter how nice of a car you have or how much access you have or how many things you sell. None of that is going to buy you love, loyalty, or respect. Right. And I
Mm.
found that finding purpose, all of a sudden, you'll be mocked in the beginning openly for years. I'm sure I'm still mocked openly for the content creation stuff that I do. Maybe a couple of times it gets back to me, but it's fascinating how, people at first will tell you you're crazy, then they'll make fun of you, and then they'll be like, yeah, I always believed in you. I always knew you would do it. That's amazing. Congratulations. Then you notice really that the value of the love, loyalty, and respect from those that are with you for the right reasons is more valuable than anything you'll ever get.
Oh, we have to ignore the haters. It can be hard. It can be
Mhm.
hard for people, especially when they're expressing their creativity or putting things out into the world, like especially videos, right? Or videos, articles, whatever form of content you're creating. It can be really hard when people don't like it or they openly talk about it. I mean, how
Haters
do
are just
you?
confused admirers, though. Like, usually it's a reflection of themselves. You can't
Yeah.
control how other people treat you. You can only control how you react to the way they treat you. So I would say never in any history of the world has being cut off in traffic and yelling and getting mad at the person ended with you feeling great for the rest of the day. Yet if you cut somebody off and they get upset and you say, I'm so sorry, have a great day, bye, even if you weren't in the wrong, you take ownership of it, you forget about it an hour later and that person's day is completely ruined because they're just angry. So it's all perspective, right?
Yeah. I like that. Haters are confused admirers.
Yeah. They want to do the thing you're doing. They just don't know how. So the easiest solution is just to, you know, blame you or mock you to make themselves feel better. But it's usually an indication that there's something going on with them. So it's a them problem, not a you problem.
It's a them problem. Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I always ask my guests to share one tip, that one activity that they can do 10 minutes or less to help them live a more fulfilling life.
Yeah, mind sweep every single day. 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at night. That's the prescription. Grab a piece of paper, dump everything in your bread. Grab everything in your head on the piece of paper. And then if you really want to supercharge it, create like an external brain like Trello or Evernote or Notes and create a couple small lists so that you can then take what you just dumped on paper and organize it for your calendar for the week. Because all these little tools help relieve the stress of having to remember everything. I think we all put too much pressure on ourselves. And I think once we boil down what we actually have to do to create the life we want, it's a lot simpler. But we just think we have too many things to do. We don't do anything. Meanwhile, if you did like 3 to 6 critical things daily, even just Monday to Thursday, keep Friday, Saturday, Sundays off, you'd probably be better than 90% of the world. So mind sweep, 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at night.
Oh, that's so good. All right. Well, now you said one thing because I love that you share that even after when you actually get everything out of your head, so many people stop doing anything because there's so much to do. So how do you do the first thing to kind of push you forward to take action more in your day?
Urgent this week, someday. So those are my only 3 lists I have. Urgent, I cannot have more than 6 things on my urgent list. And that is like the house is burning down. This absolutely has to get done today, right? Your this month would be things you're going to move every single day to your urgent list. So if you have 40 things on your this month list, you're only going to move 6 a day, but 6 a day times even 4 days is 24 things a week times how many weeks in a month times how many weeks in a year. You're going to get a lot done if you can focus on 6 things a day. And then weekly, I'll review my this month board, and you'd be shocked how many times you just naturally take care of things. And then you can build up from there. Once you develop that habit, I'll have a list that, urgent this month someday. And then I have another list that says follow-ups. So urgent tasks and follow-ups aren't necessarily the same things. It's another level. But if there's like 42 follow-ups I have to do, I can just have that in a follow-up list. And then as I'm driving or doing different things, I'm blasting through follow-ups. So it's just system solutions for people problems, right? And I think having an external brain is like having an unpaid assistant. That's incredibly valuable.
What did I say, people? He's the most strategic person. I feel like every question you're just like, I have a process, I have a system, I have something set up for that.
I had to though, because I failed a lot. So a lot of these things come back to me in 3 years. They're going to be very different from what I'm telling you now. It's the journey, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's the journey. Well, Justin, you share such great content on your YouTube channel. I love how you just go into productivity. You talk about some books, you talk about connections and all the things. Like anything entrepreneurial, you have so much great video content on there. What is the best way for people to connect with you?
YouTube, for sure. I'd say go there, subscribe, drop any comments. If you need any specific videos done, I will do them. And then if you want to reach me directly, Instagram's probably the best place. Just shoot me a DM and I manage that account. I will respond. So
Awesome. Well, Justin, I love getting to hear your segments. Justin also has a segment in Breakfast with Champions. If you're on Clubhouse at 5:30 a.m., so bright and early on Friday mornings. So you can always catch him live on YouTube and on Clubhouse then. So Justin, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Your newsletter is an inspiration. We're actually looking at it right now for our new newsletter, just for a little modification. So go subscribe to Kate's newsletter and follow all her episodes too. And we'll catch you on the next one.
You're awesome.